So both these teams stand at 11-3 right now. As of now, the Rams would own the tiebreaker because they won the first matchup. But odds makers are thinking that it could be the Seahawks who get the job done tonight in Seattle. And from a narrative standpoint, this game is absolutely massive because we've seen a lot of doubters and a lot of haters when it comes to Sam Darnold. Despite all these great numbers that he continues to put up in the regular season, people still have the doubts about him in the big games. And the problem is he hasn't played in that many big games, but the problem is he does not have good numbers. Whether it's a de facto playoff game or an actual playoff game, these have not been his best efforts. Even in the first go-round against the Rams, had 4 picks in that game, but the crazy part is the Seahawks still almost won that game. So, Jenks, from a spread and money line standpoint, do you have a play in this game?
You know, I kind of like the Seahawks here. I think that it's pretty well established that most people believe the Rams are the best team in the NFL, and they may still be. You can be the best team in the league and not win out. That's not how the league works, and I can't wait to watch this game. But you sort of touched on it, and I think it's right, is that the Seahawks did not play great against the Rams at SoFi Stadium, and Sam Darnold was not good in that game, and they had a chance to win it. Now they're at home in a primetime spot, and Seattle is a notoriously difficult place to play. Like, that stadium is wild. I'll tell this story one more time since we're nearing the end. But when I covered the Redskins in Seattle, and one of the storylines was, wow, this stadium is absolutely wild. It's akin to, it can get as loud as a 737 landing at an airport when you're standing on the tarmac. Like, it's crazy loud. So I don't know how I got on the tarmac at SeaTac Airport, but I did. And I was in the middle of the air, like where the planes are landing. And I had one shot to get it done. I was doing the stand-up, and we wanted to get it where I'm talking about how loud the stadium is as a 737 is landing behind me, and then it gets so loud that people can't hear me speak. And we nailed it. It was great. But that's how loud it can get. So you've got that home field advantage. And then not only that, I mean, Devontae Adams, I think, is going to play, but he's been struggling with a hamstring. This is a revenge spot for Seattle. I love Sam Darnold's story. I know that's a factor as well. I'm trying to be objective here. But I think the Seahawks, because of the spot they're in tonight, because they're back at home, I like Seattle. And the number is moving in their direction. This was Seattle -1. Now it's sitting at Seattle -1.5. I'm on the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling as well. But I'll say this, from a betting standpoint, I don't like betting on things that feel like a coin flip to me. This game feels like a coin flip. I do think that Seattle certainly has the home field advantage, and if they play like a little bit cleaner than they did last time, they should be able to win. But still, both these teams are just so even. When you look at the defense, both these defenses have been incredible at stopping the run so far this season. When you look at the Seahawks, giving up just 3.8 yards per carry, second best mark in the NFL. But the Rams, right there at 3.9 yards per carry as well. So I think my question mark for the Seahawks would be, okay, if you can't get the run game going, can you depend on Sam Darnold to spark this offense and really put the team on his shoulders? And listen, I feel like I'm past the stage of saying, well, he's a quarterback you don't want to trust, just run the football. I don't believe in that. I think he is your franchise guy. You say, okay, you've got one of the best receivers in the entire NFL in JSN. Throw him the ball, make some plays. We saw this last game. Despite, a lower scoring affair, you still had JSN with 9 catches for 105 yards. So I still think the plan of attack for the Seahawks shouldn't be abandoning the pass game. I do think that if there is a weakness with the Rams, maybe it's through the air. Like, when I say weakness, it's like weakness in quotation marks, because the Rams across the board are a very solid team. But Matt Stafford's fully capable of throwing interceptions as well. And I understand he is the favorite to win MVP, but this is a damn tough matchup when it comes to the Seahawks defense. In fact, this is a defensive-led team, in my opinion. When you see what they've done to opposing offenses, it is absolutely brutal. So I think this game's pretty much a coin flip. I do think we see a lower scoring affair. But at the end of the day, I don't want to bet on things where I feel like it could go either direction, so I'm not.
Well, I mean, isn't this the classic? I just want to watch this game. It would be fun to have
Yeah.
money on it, but isn't this the classic? You know what? I just want to enjoy a great football game. I mean, you can do both. You don't have to make a choice. You can bet on it. Maybe I will. Plus, my show's done tomorrow. I can stay up late and it's all good. I got nothing to work on, nothing to lose, nothing to lose. But this, I think this has all the makings of one of those really classic football games that we see on Thursday night where it could and should come down to the very end because both of these teams are really good. I also kind of think it's going to be a little bit of a grind as well. I know when you see so many great football players on the offensive side of the football, then we always focus on offense. It's the more exciting part of the game, but the two defenses here are just rock solid. So good.
Right, absolutely. And we've seen this total drop 2.5 points. Now it's sitting at 42, open at 44.5. And for good reason. Both of these defenses, especially in the red zone, have been incredible. And plus, you mentioned Davante Adams possibly not being 100% for this game. I think we probably still see him. Like, that's what me trying to read between the lines is that maybe they'll still use him in red zone situations because that's when he's the most dangerous. Is that he is such a reliable target in the end zone. He makes these acrobatic catches. So I think if he's not 100%, maybe that goes, in the favor of the under as well. And obviously the Seahawks. But I do think he'll probably be a part of this game in some regard. From a betting standpoint, there are two receivers in this game that feel as trustworthy as one could possibly feel in the NFL. Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith and Jigba, you look at the lines for their receiving yards, you're like, oh my goodness, these lines are crazy. Like 91.5, I think is the number for Jackson Smith and Jigba. But you look at his totals and how consistently good they've been. 113, 92, 23. Okay, that was an off game, but that was a 26-0 win over the Vikings. I don't think that's going to be the game script tonight. 167, 105 the last time out that this team faced the Rams. And that was a game in which Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. So it just feels to me that 91.5 seems high. But Jenks, remember we had this discussion when Cooper Kupp was at the height of his greatness where they would post these numbers and you're like, 95.5? That's a crazy high total, but he would still go over it.
I mean, he's not that guy now. And he's in the perfect role for Seattle. Like, that's what Seattle has done such a nice job of, is building an offense around Sam Darnold. Like, bringing in Rashid Shaheed was such a great move because he was down there in New Orleans doing great things, but he didn't have really much to work with. And now he's become a solid number 2. If you look at his numbers over the past couple of games, he's really come alive. And so when you add Cooper Kupp, that veteran you can trust on third down, someone has great hands, someone who's been there, like all these are different pieces that fit perfectly with JSN and Sam Darnold and the backfield that they have. So what you really want in offense is guys that complement one another with their skill sets. And that's exactly what Seattle has here. And Cooper is a part of that. Not what he used to be, but still very valuable.
Right, but my point is, from a value standpoint, is that even though the number seems high, when you have these guys that are at the peak of excellence and some of the best receivers in the league, especially, with JSN being a true number 1, and you have that sense of trust between Sam Darnold and JSN that he's going to get the job done. So I'm looking over at BetMGM. They actually have a better number on JSN. 88.5 is the number. I'd still play it. If you're playing same-game parlays, I would do like maybe a dumbed-down version where it's like, okay, 75-plus yards, 70-plus yards, and combine that with the other trustworthy receiver in this game, who is Puka Nacua. Especially if Davante Adams is banged up. Do you see the target share that Puka Nacua is getting? Target share king. We love those type of guys here on the show because it feels like they have such a dependable floor where even if they don't get, 180 yards, they're still going to get close to it. So you look at Puka Nacua last 5 games, 11 targets in 3 of those. 181, 167, 72, 97, and 75 last time around against Seattle. I will say this. I think Matt Stafford probably spreads the ball around like maybe a touch more, but it's hard to say that when it's somebody who's getting 11 targets in a game. So I think both these receivers are going to be really key in this game, especially since both of these run defenses are so stingy.
Yeah, and I mentioned Rashid Shaheed. I like his receiving prop, which is set at 32.5 receiving yards. So when you look at sort of his transition from New Orleans to Seattle, he started off really slow, and that's understandable, right? Unless you're someone like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or even a Puka Nacua, it takes time if you're not one of those top 5 receivers to sort of acclimate to an offense, develop that chemistry with your quarterback. And that's exactly what has happened in Seattle. So if you look at the first 4 games for Shaheed, didn't do much. 4 receptions in 4 games. But look at what he's done over the past 2 games where he's really come alive. 4 receptions, 67 yards against the Falcons. That was 2 weeks ago. And then last week against the Colts, 5 receptions, 74 yards. So he's going to work on the outside. That's where the Rams do have some weakness in their secondary based on how they play defense schematically. So 32.5 receiving yards is really low, I feel like, for Shaheed. And I'm going to be on it.
I think that's a solid play simply because he feels like the down the field guy. Like he's having longest receptions of 27, 33, 21. I was just looking for that market over at BetMGM to see what it is. 18.5. Like that feels like a solid play to me because think about all the attention that JSN's going to get. And that's why, Shaheed is such a valuable, second piece. Because if you're, focused too much on JSN, Shaheed's going down the field and he's going to get you, especially with what Seattle does with the play action pass. So I think that's a really solid one as well. As far as like touchdown bets, I don't think this is a market that I probably want to touch in this game because I can't remember if you said this, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Like 42 makes me nervous just because both these teams have, electric, explosive weapons on both sides of the ball. But I don't think I'm going to be betting anytime touchdowns just because I don't think there's going to be that many.
I don't think so either. I like the under in this game. The problem is that this number has moved in a big way. So I put a sprinkle on it earlier this week. It was sitting at 44.5. So we've seen this number drop 2.5 points overnight, really, because it was sitting around 44 yesterday. So money is just piling in on the under. And this is a situation where you look at the defenses and then you take a closer look and you understand why. So the Seahawks are 4th in total defense. Rams are ranked 13th. But then you look at yards allowed, which means a lot of times these defenses tighten up in the red zone, which is incredibly important. The Seahawks are 2nd in the NFL in yards allowed. The Rams are 4th. So these guys get really stingy when opposing offenses are close to scoring, which means we should see a lot of field goals in this game, not a ton of touchdowns despite the offensive talent. I kind of think that's where we're going to go here. So I would go under, but I don't like that it's moved 2.5 points already.
It also should be noted that the MVP market is tied to this game as well because obviously Matt Stafford is your favorite to win MVP. I don't think he's somebody where if he has a bad game that it will be a huge mark on his reputation just because, he's been such a presence in the league for such a long time. He's won a Super Bowl. He has that established trust, which is wild to say when the exact opposite is true for Sam Darnold. If he even has like a mediocre game, the haters are going to come out with their pitchfork and say, see, Sam Darnold, worse than Kirk Cousins in big games. So we'll see. It's crazy we didn't even get to that. I could have talked about that game for like 3 hours.